In a world where remakes are taking over, there is only but one remake other than Halo that we have been waiting for. Hello everyone, this is the Undead Ninja here, and as you can see, my face is not in the video today. Mainly because my setup is being rearranged a little bit. And yeah, so today you're going to have a faceless video of me discussing Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake with the lovely Assassin's Creed in the background. So we all know that the Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake is on its way. We don't know exactly when, how, we haven't seen any trailers, but the speculation and all the leaks have proven otherwise. So the big question is, what would I like to see out of the remake? And so I've broken it down into 5 main categories. These categories are not in any particular order, but let's get the first one out of the way. Of course, we want updated graphics. I mean, if it's going to be a remake, it's got to have modern graphics. Not to say that the graphics that it currently has, like in the gameplay, is bad, but of course we'd prefer a much updated graphics to the cutscenes, to any of the gameplay, something that makes it a little less glitchy and more polished out. With there being new graphics for the remake and updatedness, of course, I'm not meaning like how some things are going on with the original Mirage when it came out and the dullness that's felt. I think that if they just updated it like they're doing specifically with Halo and how those graphics look, this cutscene that's playing in the background would look so fantastic and so immersive. And it was already immersive back when the game came out. I can only imagine what it would feel like with updated graphics.
Tori, if it does what these Templars claim, we'll be unbeatable.
Not that twaddle again, can we? It's a story for schoolboys.
So the second thing that I want to talk about to bring into the remake is cut content. Okay, the reason why I would like cut content to be in there is because there's so many different missions that could be added. For instance, one of the missions that could be added is the James Kidd pirate missions that was cut from the original story. Another cut content thing happened to be a rowboat. And this was an addition that was going to be in the game that you could just row around in. See, right here, you have a rowboat, right? Like, you can click it to return to your ship. But it was going to go further in the sense that you would have been able to ride it to lands or ride it away from your ship instead of having to take your ship and diving in to the ocean. And to pertain to the story, there was supposed to be more with Mary Read and stuff of that nature, being able to have more of a storyline with her. And the storyline with her was already great, but now you would have had more of an opportunity to learn her character more in depth. The thing that I don't want cut content wise is Edward's personality, and I'll get more into that a little bit later. So this one I'm going to get a lot of hate for, and I think that we should also bring in the RPG elements of combat, like something similar to Origins.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I know, put my head on a platter if you must, but the reason why I say this is because for some reason, the old combat system didn't seem like that much, but in reality, it was because it wasn't that much. And what I mean by that is that all you had to do is counter, attack, and there wasn't much to it after that. Is that a bad thing? Of course not. However, with the RPG elements of these games nowadays, you can make it so that way the combat is more fresh and updated. You could do more rolls. You can, for instance, when you needed to assassinate, you can assassinate clearer and whatnot. Like, for instance, here in a clip that I have from Assassin's Creed Valhalla, um, it's nice to be able to have different moves and different attacks here, and then having these opportunities of like being thrown clear across the map and whatnot. There are a lot of different pros and cons to having the different combat system that the newer RPG games have compared to the old system. And as much as the other system worked, it felt like it was way easier. Not saying that Valhalla's made it feel like it was a walk in the park, as well as not having as much combat freedom in the sense of being able to be more stealthy or running away. But I think that if we're going to remake it and bring it to current times, we might as well try something a little bit different. However, now that brings up an issue. Will that take away the magic that Assassin's Creed Black Flag had for a lot of people who played this as their first game? Will this make it so that way it's harder to love and adapt, especially with a lot of these current day games? Um, that's why I think if they're gonna do any of the RPG elements, I think it should be a mix up between Origins and Valhalla. So that way you have the one where it's basic combat and it's adrenaline and it's not too flashy, to certain different moves you could possibly use with adrenaline. Of course, this is just all an idea and not, you know, golden hammer. So on this list, I have no modern day segment. And this one may have some people upset, maybe some people not. But the reason why I have this on my list is because to me, after Desmond, spoiler alert, died in AC3, um, they didn't find a match of what they wanted to do. They didn't really have much of a direction for the new modern day for Assassin's Creed. And honestly, it's been mixed match, up and down type attitude towards modern day sense. And I think that what they should do is use all their assets and resources and everything of that nature to focus on Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake instead of worrying about the modern day. Because in the modern day, all you really got to do for Black Flag was explore, walk around, and take notes, right? Yeah, so like I said, there's no point, in my opinion, to have the modern day, right? And another thing about the modern day is that it did have a little storyline. It was alright. Like I said, it connected things together. But, again, it wasn't that significant because most of the time you weren't even out of the, I guess, VR animus that you were in. You know, like you were at playing the game more than you were doing anything. And if we're going to have all these things added to the game, we can focus more of newer things than worry about the modern day, right? It's not that it was bad. It's just it wasn't as great as the rest. So the last thing in my top 5 that I want is to make sure we don't skip out on emotional dialogue. And what I mean by this is I didn't finish the remastered version of Assassin's Creed 3, but I was told by one of my buddies that the most famous speech that was at the end of Assassin's Creed 3 of Connor talking about his current, you know, issues going on while he's burying Achilles, it was cut. And if this is true, comment below that if I'm wrong or whatnot, if that's still in the game, or if they did take it out. But if that's true, I do not want the emotional contact that you have with Mary Reed in this game specifically cut, because that would be a very big problem for me. Because, like, the whole story of Edward is learning who he is at the beginning. He's a privateer, a pirate, and then to top it off, he continues trying to be selfish in his ways up until the end, until it was Mary Reed that turned that all for him, that made him become an assassin, that made him become better as a man in general. And that is something that I would not want to be thrown out the window. So this brings up the graphical issue that we had in Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered, where none of the lines and the textures would match the character. And this was a big graphical issue that I mentioned in the beginning, somewhat, but it's more along the lines that this would hurt the cutscene and dialogues and feeling immersed. Like, how am I supposed to be invested into a deep story when the issue is one of the eyeballs starts twitching or the mouth isn't matching the words? Like, if it was a American voice over a Korean movie, right? So that's one thing that I am worried about with the remastered or remake, I mean. And I think that it is one of the biggest issues, because not only is it going to be a graphical issue, but it's also going to be taking you out of the immersive feeling of being in that cutscene. But however, this also adds a new opportunity where we can add new cutscenes, right? Like I mentioned before, Mary Reed was supposed to have a deeper storyline. And I think that it would be really cool if they added some more cutscenes. I know, like in the Halo remake campaign Evolved, they were mentioning on how they were bringing back some of the original voice actors. Maybe they could do the same into Assassin's Creed Black Flag's remake, right? Because the thing about remakes and remasters is it's a constant battle where you could play the same game just with updated graphics, or you could be playing a whole new different game or with a different feeling. And I'm not meaning like change the story at all, but I'm meaning add stuff to the story to make it more viable and more loved. So this is where I'm going to bring in an honorable mention, and I know that I have recently been fond into multiplayer when it comes to Assassin's Creed, and I don't think it would be a bad thing to bring that into the remake, whether or not it is a co-op campaign or if it is its own little side thing, right? Because we kind of wanted to focus on the story, but it would be kind of cool to be sailing the seas with your buddies, right? Like maybe have them play as Adewale or something along those lines, right? Because there's opportunities that you could do that. And I kind of went over that in my last video, but besides the point that it would be kind of cool if they added that back, maybe with some upgraded things to it, maybe graphics like I mentioned a million times. But yeah, I think that would just be cool in general. Another honorable mention that I want to bring up is let's try and stay away from the over dramatic mythological aspect of things. because like we could still have a sense of mystery like with Davy Jones, or we already seen the Kraken attack the whale as like a little hidden Easter egg, right? And this is stuff that we could have, but and like feed into it more. Like maybe you see like like it Sailor's hallucination, seeing Davy Jones's ship appear off in the distance, or like I said, when you did the diving bell, you could see the Kraken in the well. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff they can do, making it more realistic, but not over the top mythological dramatic. Thanks for tuning into my video and going over the possible things that I would want to see in the remake. If you guys have different things that you'd like to see, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share the video to your friends, or even comment back. Yeah. Stay in the shadows and have a wonderful night or day, depending on where you're from.
One is the loneliest number that you'll